Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Dill, it is time. Schedule prediction for Texas A&M rolling into 2025. Dill, in the dead of the summer, got the Texas A&M hat on. I'm fired up to get into this one. I feel like Texas A&M kind of flying under the radar for the first time in a long time. I think Mike Elko probably right where he wants to be. And here's the thing that I'll say with Texas A&M. Why are they flying under the radar? Number one, I don't think there's a ton of people that believe in Marcel Reed. But number two, it's not necessarily the flashiest roster that you see. But the Texas A&M fans who've been rocking with the boys all summer long know there's one thing that stands out. There's a little bit more of an identity to this football team than in years past. Like, what separates Texas A&M in 2025 versus some really talented football teams that we've seen that have underperformed pretty dang consistently over the last decade? Dill, I know what this Texas A&M team is going to be. I think we can see a little bit more consistency from this football team in 2025. They got a big, nasty, deep, veteran offensive line with an offensive coordinator that wants to run the piss out of the football and really, really good running backs. I can envision how this Texas A&M team wants to win every single Saturday. Now, go back to the last couple of years. Yeah, there's been flashier names on the roster in years past, but it always felt like, especially under Jimbo Fisher, that it was just a bunch of talent on the team. You never really got a sense of like, how is this talent going to come together? Like, what's the identity of this football team? I'll look at Texas A&M in 2025 and say it ain't that flashy, and that's why people ain't talking about them that much. I kind of like the identity that this football team has in 2025. Really excited to get into this one before we do, and as always, most importantly to the Texas A&M fans, two things. One, thank you. There's been a lot of Texas A&M fans that have been rocking with the boys all summer long. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Much more importantly, like expectations, record predictions in the comment section, please let it absolutely rip. Dill, I'm going to put you on the spot right here before we get into the schedule. Expectations for Texas A&M going into year two with Mike Elko at the helm.
And to me, it's like, again, you probably want to be in that 8 to 9 win total. I don't know that that's wildly important. Really, what I want to see is like this defense take a monster step forward, and you start to like believe in the process, because you said
Yeah,
it, like, this isn't the most talented Texas A&M team in the world. It's not going to be as talented as the teams that are going to be on the field in 26 and 27 once Mike
agreed.
Elko's classes get on the field. So, like, again, I don't know that it's a national championship roster now, but I think you want to see big, big improvements
So
from the.
this is what I will say. As much as I said this might not be the most talented or flashiest roster, I still believe this team has the talent to bang with anybody in the country. Like, I look at Texas A&M last year and say they had the talent to bang with anybody in the country. They only lost 3 NFL draft picks. Now, they were all on the defensive line. This team returns a lot. And I look at all 3 levels of the defense, and I look at a bunch of the players on offense, specifically on the offensive line. Dill, I don't think it's crazy that Texas A&M has 7, 8, 9, 10 NFL draft picks on this team. So although I'm getting up here and saying it might not be the most talented team that we've seen Texas A&M trot out, it's still really, really talented going into 2025.
Well, no, they're going to be competitive. I think the way you have the schedule kind of broken out with like toss up, yet, like there's not. Oh, I mean,
Ah,
maybe there's one team that you're going to be a dog to in Texas, and Texas is going to be really good. Like, obviously, A&M banged with Texas last year, so like,
yeah.
again, it's not like a team that they can't beat. There are no teams in the country. I just looked, especially on defense, do they have enough top end talent? And I know you said like it's a good team, but like aside from Cassius Howell, who are like your real monsters? Is probably my
You
question.
you you want to see that, and you got like Rylan Kennedy. Like, it's your year, man. Same thing with a guy like DJ Hicks. Like, there are some candidates, and I think they need to step up if Texas
DJ
A&M
Hicks
wants to
might be
be.
like the guy who I'm almost like analyzing, like, what does he look like? Because he's the guy who's so talented, you were so
Yeah,
excited, and just hasn't quite gotten to that level of
yeah.
like big time college football player yet.
So before we get into the schedule, I kind of gave my elevator pitch with like the identity of this football team. There's another thing I like, and that's the continuity. The last year, you talk about like the inconsistencies we saw from this football team. I think it had a lot to do with like a brand new coaching staff with a brand new roster. I mean, it was a lot of transfer portal additions that Texas A&M was trotting out last year. Now I look at it and say, you replace, now you don't have to replace, you return pretty much the whole offensive line, which I think should be a really good unit deal. Cam Dewberry was like offensive line 8 for this football team. He might start for Alabama. That tells you like where Texas A&M's offensive line is. They've built around Marcel Reed. I think you got pass catchers that better fit what Coach Colin Klein and Marcel Reed wants to do at quarterback. You look at Marcel Reed, yeah. Do we have question marks about the deep ball? Absolutely. I ain't going to get up here and say he throws the best deep ball in the country. What's he really good at? Ball out quick, accurate, short and intermediate passing concepts. Well, you got difference makers with the football in their hands. So last year, your wide receiver one was Noah Thomas, kind of exclusively vertical deep ball kind of guy. Now it's Casey Concepcion and a guy like Terry Bussey, a guy like Mario Craver, a lot of dynamic football players with the football in space. I feel like the talent is, it fits what they want to do better than what we saw in the 2024 year. And then on defense, you noted you want to see a step on defense. Well, Dill, it helps to return almost everybody, especially in the back end. Secondary, returning almost all of it. Linebackers with Torrey York, you are returning it. I expect a step on the defensive side of the football just because all these players are more comfortable with what Mike Elko wants to do going into year 2. Let's get into the schedule here. I got 6 games that are highlighted in green. And I might be being generous with some confident wins. Like on the road at Arkansas, on the road at Missouri, that's probably generous to highlighting green. I've been pretty vocal that I'm not a monster fan of Missouri. Arkansas is the one that probably concerns me the most. And it exclusively has to do with Taylen Green. Like what version of Taylen Green do you get on October 18th is a very big storyline, because if you get Taylen Green on his game, that game can get hairy very early on the road at Arkansas there.
In Arkansas, the team, like when you were watching the portal and how they were getting gutted on really both sides of the ball, I think you have that preconceived notion like, oh, this team is not going to be good. Their offensive line might be actually a really good unit. Taylen Green's fun. Very scared about what their wideouts are going to be, but like you look at the defense might be good. So Arkansas, as much as like I think Texas A&M's a far superior team, you're right. Arkansas is a very up and down team. They play really good some games. They'll play down to their competition other games. They're a team that, again, as much as it's a game that I think should be penciled in green, Texas A&M should take care of business. They're a very frisky team that can get going.
And they are frisky is the word I would use for Arkansas. The best way I'd say is like, look, Texas A&M, go play your B football against those 6 teams. You should have 6 wins on your schedule. Then we get into the purple games. The game that stands out to me the most is week 3 on the road at Notre Dame. Like, number 1, we won't get our lick back. But number 2, I kind of like playing Notre Dame early because you got a lot of moving pieces, specifically, Dill, at the quarterback position. Whoever wins that starting job for Notre Dame, whether it's CJ Carr, whether it's Kenny Minchie, they're making their second career start against the Mike Elko defense because they play Miami week 1, then they're on bye. That if you were going to play Notre Dame, you wanted to get them early. Last year, it felt like because Notre Dame had the more veteran quarterback, they were able to get that one done. Like Riley Leonard just didn't make the mistakes and came up with the plays to get Notre Dame over the hump. This year, it's kind of reversed. Like I look at Marcel Reed and say he's not like a super veteran, but he's more veteran than what Notre Dame's going to have at quarterback. When you look at that game, to me, that's where it starts. Like if you can go undefeated in your first 3-0 going into the SEC, that feels like one of the most important games on the schedule.
And is Notre Dame like ready to take the pounding that A&M is going to dish out?
Yeah,
that's the one thing I look like. Some of these good teams and like questionable games maybe for A&M, or probably it looks like Texas, Florida, South Carolina, all 3 don't necessarily have the deepest interior defensive lines.
Yeah.
If you're right about what Mike Elko and Colin Klein are going to build this team to do, which I'm kind of with you, I think they have a good stable of running backs. I think they should be able to pound on teams a little bit. Those are games that I think they match up okay. And frankly, Notre Dame's in the kind of similar boat. Like they lost 2 really good defensive tackles. I'm not sure they've reloaded that position. Is that a smaller defensive line that A&M can kind of get on a little bit?
It's smaller and it's thin, Dill. Like I don't know if they have more than like 4 or 5 guys that they trust to play meaningful snaps. If you can run the football and stay on the field and kind of just grind this team down into the dirt, that is I think Notre Dame's a very, very good team, and I am not picking Texas A&M to win that game on the road right now. That is your recipe to winning, and that's why I have this game highlighted in purple, because I think there's a pathway. Look, if Mike Elko, if this identity of this football team takes hold, they can go on the road. You run games, travel anywhere you go, and kind of get to the depth in Notre Dame on the defensive line. That's what I think that's an intriguing matchup. Then you go into your bye week. You get 3 SEC games, all at home. And Dill, you go on the road and beat Notre Dame, you're a top 10 team. And Kyle Field is going to be rocking when Auburn comes to town. Jackson Arnold, a guy that we haven't necessarily seen play his best football in big-time environments. If you beat Notre Dame, you feel good about Auburn. The game I'm looking at next is Florida. Like, what's it look like? Does Billy Napier have this team rolling? Because I look at Florida and say that roster is checking boxes. You're just not sure what you're going to get from Billy Napier. Do you want to move on to the Texas game? Like, we could go game by game. The Texas game intrigues me. I'll look at that game and say maybe college football playoff berth on the line going on the road to Texas. Like, even if this team finishes as a 9-3 football team, if you end your season going on the road and beating a Texas team that is both our preseason picks to win the national championship, I don't think it's crazy to be talking about a 9-3 Texas A&M team that has an argument to make the college football playoffs.
And 9-3 is very feasible because they might have 2 top 5 teams, Notre Dame and Texas, on this schedule. Florida, I'm not convinced won't be in that conversation. As much as we saw that coaches poll come out with them at 18, they are not the 18th best team in the country in my mind. I think they'll be up there. So 9-3, frankly, they're going to be right on the bubble. And if they're like 8-3 going into that game against Texas, you're probably right. It's like it was last year where, college football playoff is on the line, possible appearance.
Here's my big question, what it comes down to. Like, there's a lot of games that are highlighted in purple. There are a lot of games where I feel like you're going to need Marcel Reed to be a difference maker. Is he ready? We all know he has the traits to be a difference maker. Like, when things aren't perfect, Marcel Reed can pick up the chains with his legs, can get outside the pocket and extend plays. Is Marcel Reed ready to take that step and be the difference maker for Texas A&M? As much as I think that this Texas A&M team can lean on their ground game to win them a lot of football games, it's not going to be every single one. You're going to need Marcel Reed to show up in big moments. Is he ready to be that guy? And one of the things that we didn't mention off the top is, the legitimate difference makers on the outside that he didn't have last year.
He didn't have great things around him last year in general. I thought the pass pro wasn't always the best. Yeah. I think I like what that can be moving forward with another year of continuity in that.
Yeah, Adam Cushing. Sorry to cut you off. Adam Cushing did a great job with this offensive line last year. Sorry, keep going.
You turned around pretty quick. And, again, you saw the fruits of it in the run game more. If this unit can kind of take that step in pass pro, you got a really good unit. You got some wide receivers. You said it, again, A&M, there's not maybe Texas, the one team, if Texas really rounds in the form, that'll be a really, really tough game. But everyone else, I kind of agree. Those are.
And then the other question mark I have is the defense. Can we – last year you couldn't really lean on your defense to keep you in football games as much as I think many of us expected. Year 2, I get that you're replacing a lot of really talented dudes, especially on the defensive line. But with everybody being – you look at Texas A&M's problems last year. One, they were extremely disruptive, but didn't really they didn't translate that disruption into negative plays. They were outside of the top 40 in sack percentage, which to me is it's inexcusable when you have multiple NFL draft picks on the defensive line. You had 3 NFL draft picks. Cassius Howell going to the NFL draft after this year. If the secondary cleans it up and kind of avoid some of the coverage bust that you saw last year, do you give a little bit more time for your pass rush to get home this year? Let's put a flag in it here, Dell. Over under 7.5 games. You taking the over under here?
I'm going 8, so I'm taking over. But I do think that 7.5 is kind of on target because, again, I think this is a tough schedule, and I think they got to get the Mike Elko recruits through this pipeline and get the talent kind of not on par. It's close to on par, but I don't think it is as talented as Texas and LSU maybe right now, and maybe Notre Dame.
And they're maybe, but they're Yeah, I don't necessarily know if I agree with that because I'm looking at this roster and say I see a lot of NFL draft picks, at least in my opinion, and I'll just come out and say like I'm a little higher than consensus on this football team. I think they're gonna be a little bit more consistent because I think they have a little bit more of an identity. So I don't think you're gonna see like the roller coaster of inconsistency that we saw year one for Mike Elko. You're gonna need Marcel Reed to step up in a few of these games that are highlighted in purple. If Marcel Reed's the guy that I think he can be going into, his full first year as a starter, I think this team goes over as well. I think he got 6 games you should win. I think he can win a few of those toss-up games, and we'll see. I'm not picking Texas A&M to make the college football playoffs because I got to see a little bit more from Marcel. I think this team can be dangerous, though, and if Marcel Reed does hit, and again, Mike Elko showed us he has confidence, right?
Yeah.
If Mike Elko didn't like Marcel Reed, you would have seen Texas A&M go to the portal and get a quarterback. This coaching staff in this program has confidence in Marcel Reed, and if he can be that guy, I do think this Texas A&M team can be sniffing around the college football playoffs. Ain't picking it yet. Got to see more from Marcel Reed. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. We'll cut it there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. Texas A&M fans, expectations, record predictions, let it fly in the comment section. We gonna talk to y'all later. Peace.